patrol attire, not my business attire. I'm gonna get on there. It's okay, I got the money for another suit.
Are y'all getting paid right now? Like, or is there still a budget issue?
I mean, we get paid our like hourly from the state, but yeah, we haven't gotten our salary in Jesus Christ, long time. So
You mean the like a cut check or whatever?
yeah. We were getting $100K a week.
Holy fuck, $100K?
Yeah.
Yeah, we ain't even getting that, to be honest.
Yeah.
What I noticed is like, listen, it might be my, every time I ask for money for the payday, it's like pulling teeth, I'm like, you ain't dying with that money, motherfucker. Money's coming in because we're doing arrests, but if we don't got money coming in and people got to like, fight for it, you ain't going to get, you ain't serving you under justice.
Yeah. I mean, we've, so there for a while, like we weren't, like I know when Barrett was still here, he was trying to work out like temporary funding and all that, but Barrett kind of went MIA for a little bit. And then I was like, okay, I can't live off of like 500 an hour. So I went and had a conversation with the mayor at the time, Mr. Nino Chavez. So, and I was like, hey, here's the situation. I'm not really looking for, I totally get it if you say no, but like, if,
it always comes back to Nino.
Maybe bump the slider up
a
little bit in the meantime while we try to figure out some better steady funding. Then, that would be great. And so he agreed, but he wanted a meeting, and I was like, that's totally get that. Got a little bit of pushback from that, from Dark, because he's like, why didn't you bring this up? And I was like, brother, I didn't say this to him. I was like, well, I was just taking initiative. No one's around. I can't live off of peanuts. So
yeah, it's it can be frustrating not having the funds you need to get the things.
Yeah.
That sounded more sus than it was.
I was not the only one with that.
Yeah.
So anyways, but yeah, I think we're getting paid $3,500 an hour.
Okay.
So it's not terrible, but definitely missed the salary, that's for sure. But
well,
as far as other funding, it's just been a little tough. We pretty much have to fund all the money out for our own impeachments, all the money for if we want to put parts in any of the Marshal vehicles. So we've kind of been looking at working on some legislation that I believe proposes to split up some of the cuts between DOJ and law enforcement agencies, to where it's like, instead of the DOJ getting 75%, it's like 25 goes to BCSO, 25 goes to LSPD.
There does need to be a slice that's coming to SSM.
Yeah. So, because I mean, let's be real, DOJ does not need 75%, and hell, I don't even think they need like. Realistically, I think they maybe can get away with 5 or 10%.
So,
that's just me.
I think there are restrictions that I've been told about, that why the 75 goes to DOJ. That doesn't necessitate that there shouldn't be some sort of slice or something, especially for a state agency to be able to a state agency like the Marshals should not have to be begging for money, because any time wasted trying to worry about money is time taken away from important things. So
right, exactly.
I'm gonna So what I'm gonna do here is, I believe in just full transparency, even if that means it might put me in a negative light in terms of certain opinions, political or otherwise. And so I'm gonna kind of lay out what my proposal was to the DOJ, and kind of tell you how this sort of all came to be. I was very intricately, marshals were not in my like on my radar for the longest time. I've been a patrol cop detective for as long as I can remember. However, a series of incidents surrounding Darkstone began to raise concern with me. And that specifically was aimed at the lack of knowledge that our departments, both LSPD and BCSO, had in terms of the ongoings, right?
Right.
The legality surrounding Darkstone operations, the lack of information that we were getting in terms of who is the faceless. Just give me 1 sec. Hey, Frank, I'll give you a call right back.
Yeah, no problem, mate.
All right. And that fantastic photo last night. You have a video?
I don't know if you've seen more, but I sent you 3 more photos. But
Very
we have
good.
about.
I need you. Do not send me that over text again for your own good.
Okay.
Just in case it puts you in danger, right?
I will be honest. One of the reasons I texted the photo to you was in case anything happened to us while we were there. So.
Okay, easy. Do you have a video of what happened?
Yes, I'd need to go over the footage and stuff and get everything prepped. But yeah, I could do.
Very good. When you have it, place it somewhere, and then ping 151.
I don't know if I'll have it tonight, Mr. Knight.
It's fine. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I have probably about 10 photos because we were following the convoy for about an hour.
Very good. I would not mention to anyone what you saw. If you publish this, you're probably going to get targeted. Just straight up.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. We are very much being targeted anyway, Mr. Knight.
Understandable.
Okay, but yeah,
All
when you're free and you have some time, if you want me to go over what we saw properly in the photos, I will happily do it.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, see you soon, Mr. Knight.
You take care. I'm sure that kind of piqued your interest there. We have the incident last night. Actually, this is going to tie in pretty well with what I was about to bring up. So we didn't know shit about Darkstone, right? Like, it was just happening. And I think partly that problem even stemmed all the way to our own high command not asking the right questions at the time, right? And therefore not providing the pertinent information. Like, obviously there are going to be things like certain details that not everyone needs to know of, but we didn't even have like a high level understanding of, you know, are Darkstone permitted to operate? What is the protocol surrounding them? But then even tapping into the faceless, there's virtually no documentation. And I took a backseat for some time, and mind you, actually the first incident of faceless getting noted down was back with individual named Larry Knox when he was being chased by an Apache over on El Rancho Boulevard and Capitol Boulevard. And that was one of the only reports that was available to us. Now, understandably, some areas of investigations are going to fall under SASM. That's totally understandable. However, our own our own detectives weren't writing things down. There were incidents that were getting created, like involving individuals like Brandon Valentino, as an example, who is so intricately involved in a series of attacks, yet he was not even interrogated for the past 7 months. What I observed was a lack of a tangible goal, right? How are we going to tackle this? Obviously, you can't take out people like the faces. They got too much military force, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't go after the people that are doing their bidding, right? And whatever that situation was. So, fast forward, you know, we had that weapons, you know, situation where PD got the weapons. You know, there was a court case or a impeachment hearing. There was a series of not just inaccuracies, but straight lies that were told. And for me, that's kind of a major no-no. For me, the moment law enforcement starts to lie on record, I don't believe at that point you're operating as law enforcement. About a couple weeks later, DOJ approached me and they wanted me to step up for the director role. Transparently, a week and a half ago, I had been mulling the idea because I've been working with BCSO Shift 2, making sure we got cadets, they're trained properly, and the standard is higher than some of the shit you see on the streets. I think some of it's embarrassing, quite frankly. Yeah. And so it's been a balance. Do I entertain this or do I not entertain this? Ultimately, I went into a meeting with DOJ with the intent of asking specific questions. I wanted to know what is the mission statement for SASM today, legislatively, and number two, if they'd be able to patrol, because marshals being unable to patrol puts them on the outside of the rest of society. If you don't know the people, if you can't speak to people, if you're not intimately involved in knowing what's happening on the field, it makes it very difficult to investigate anything, right? But it turned out to be an interview. So I'll tell you what I propose. If I do become director, individuals within SASM will be able to obtain a patrol certification. That just means, do they understand how to abide by the rules of the BCSO and the LSPD, right? In other words, you know, if there is a backup request, can you join them? If so, what does that look like? If you are driving an interceptor, how do you do so without taking their job away? You know what I mean?
Right.
But the primary goal would be that marshals should be able to, at minimum, be able to listen in on those calls and be in the area, because without that firsthand observation, understanding the bigger picture is impossible. It's just not going to happen. Because otherwise you're left with just looking at subpoenas and guesswork as to who people are, what their personalities are, what's their profile, right? Do they act this way? Do they act that way? Right? Without knowing who Brandon Valentino is, right, as a person and his behaviors, interrogating him is a fool's errand. And the same can be applied to any other individual, whether it's Darkstone related, Faceless related, otherwise. So patrol would be a focus. Doesn't mean everyone's got to do it, but there needs to be some presence. The second is providing oversight over investigations. Now, what does that mean? It would not mean that marshals come in one day and say, knock on the door and be like, hey, we're taking over this Bessie's case. What it does mean is that if anything elevates to a state concern, that there is guidance provided by the marshals as to what those goals will look like. As an example, right? We had an incident yesterday with Darkstone involving a VIP who was moving military documentation, and there was an attempt by the Faceless to steal said documentation. The goal that
yesterday.
This was yesterday. Wait, did you guys not know about this?
Yeah, no. Oh, okay. So, I didn't. So I didn't personally know about this, but apparently, from what I heard,
the director did.
It was supposed to happen
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, Wednesday at the same time, and I think that's what Governor Kane was told, and that's what I was told, and so I was entirely unaware. You know, it's 2 days later. It's like, well, shit, maybe it just isn't gonna happen. Oh, so yeah, we weren't informed at all. None of us were around for it. I don't think. Well, Peters was around for the end part of it.
Well,
okay.
No, I showed up as it was like happening, and I responded.
Oh, okay.
And that, but I got shot down during that. So
understood. I can give you a breakdown of yesterday's events if you'd like. It might actually clue into how I look at where the marshal role falls into it. I think Darkstone should be interfacing directly with the Marshals as well as the rest of the government. I did arrange a meeting with the legislative authorities in Darkstone. And there is, that cap legislation that's being pushed forward, but there needs to be even more expectation. Delta One, who's their field leader, he was given very clear instructions by me when I arrested him a couple weeks back after that little transport. A lot of legal questions came up at that point. There was no authority he had, especially including military equipment, right? If it's Darkstone today, it could be some other fucking country deciding to fly over us, right? Where does the line get drawn? But in that conversation, the demand was that if you are going to operate, we need to be made appraised when these things are occurring, not after the fact. Now, something broke down in comms yesterday, and luckily, one of our units spotted a Apache helicopter in the air over Place. We had a couple units dispatched. We realized it was Darkstone just based on the equipment they had. Had a conversation with Delta One. He told us they had a VIP being transported.
McAllister's coming up.
Oh, McAllister. Okay.
That is crazy that you had to spot them for the initiate contact. Like, you'd assume with a VIP individual, they'd be like, "Oh, hey, by the way, local law enforcement, big time dude here. Like, can we get your help?"
And it's going to be even worse when you hear what they were moving.
Oh shit!
It was so the VIP they were moving. They did not tell us the details, nor did Darkstone necessarily at the time. I mean, it's hard to tell, right? Whether they knew the full extent of what was being migrated. So what we did, as there have been, let's just say, some agreements federally to allow Darkstone to have some space, if that makes sense, right? There's a legal aspect, and then there's kind of a guidance aspect, right? Like, there's not, we don't want to be putting the entire police force on every Darkstone operation. We come in if the situation turns into like a 78. So what we decided as a middle ground is we put in Bjorn into one of their vehicles, and his job was that if things got hot, he would either radio in or we find out if he got taken out, right? Now, what was communicated to us is that this VIP, something like Mark Woods, it's in a subpoena right now.
Marcus Blackwood,
that's the name, had to meet a series of individuals. I believe the first location was going to be across from the Rooster's Rest and then the Vineyard, and I believe there might have been the third spot as well. Whether they went to the, I think it went from the comic book store, which, by the way, is another can of damn worms, perhaps a second location, and then finally the Vineyard. Or it could have been the comic book store, Vineyard, and then a third location they didn't go to. Either way, when they got to the Vineyard, there was Cuddles Fish, as well as, I believe, someone named like Nolan or something. Name starts with an N, dressed like a clown.
Nathan Sneaky.
That's the name. Something occurred in that time frame. We believe Cuddles may have given that individual some sort of candy that had some narcotics on him, making him sick. And then sniper shots kicked off. Bjorn was taken out. 78's called. I took over scene lead. Situation turned into 3 separate scenes. Shootout with sniper at Vineyard. A separate scene with individuals dressed as Darkstone with a fake Darkstone ID. Also with automatic gunfire, PDWs, similar to the ones that Darkstone carry, but they did not have a vest. And then yet another scene where that VIP somehow in this clusterfuck had managed to, it was sneaky, managed to grab that VIP, get him in a vehicle, and was attempting to drown him.
What the fuck?
That's where I attached. I saw that and heard that over radio. So I said I'm gonna attach to this. So.
Attempted to drown him.
Attempted to drown him. Correct.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, and this is, like I said, and I shoot straight, our police department is not at the coordination and level that we used to be at. I had to do a lot of micro, right? 3 separate scenes. People are AC/DCing, right? People want to go to the next 37 Alpha, that kind of bullshit, right? Luckily, a handful of us managed to arrest about 10 to 15 individuals. Luckily, Delta 1 was one of those arrested. I pulled Delta 1 aside and had him specifically identify his units. As there was a mismatch, right? You had the actual Darkstone and then fake Darkstone and then these other subjects. We managed to separate them. Now, that's not to say Delta 1 can't have charges pressed on him. I'm not really bothered by that at this present. But we managed to separate them. And then about 6 individuals were brought down to Mission PD, held there. Down at Pillbox, the VIP is currently in critical. Another one of the Darkstone agents is also in critical. While they were being held, I was called in with the VIP one to make sure he's alive, because if it became a death, it was going to be a bigger matter, right? Delta 1 at that point told me that this VIP was carrying documentation, a hard drive. The documentation contains 3 separate things. The first is documentation on signal jamming. So the Faceless utilize some sort of things, right? That you know, there's like details of satellite dishes and being able to tap into people's stuff. Darkstone has countermeasures. This documentation would describe that. Getting into the hands of the Faceless means that they can countermeasure Darkstone, right? Give them more comms abilities in the city. The second was details in regards to the weapons that the police department is getting. Therefore, those documents getting out means that any future deliveries to the police department, etc., can be intercepted and prevent law enforcement from being able to get what their needs are. The third were in relation to countermeasures against the Faceless and their weapon imports. So all 3 of those documents were pretty valuable. As for the hard drive, according to Delta 1, would have not just that information, but more further details, right? So there's 3 books, right? Those are like, think of it as like the synopsis, but the hard drive's got like the actual files and the details and the, you know, whatnot. Luckily, that conversation happened. As we managed to recover that hard drive off of Sneaky, the individual that was trying to dump the VIP. So we got him pretty red-handed. All 6 individuals, same radio channel. 6 individuals kind of from different areas alive. You got Mr. White, Frederick White, Brandon Valentino, both in close proximity over a year ago, both tied to a series of recent Faceless related, you know, violent acts, let's just call him. Snaky, he's kind of a new guy. I don't know where he fits in. Cuddles, don't know where the hell she came from, right? She kind of popped out of nowhere. Her closest proximity would be Speedy, whom did work for the Faceless, but then burnt his blueprint, which is why New Babylon's getting attacked. But Cuddles, who was going to be in New Babylon, never did end up in New Babylon, so she might now be leaning Faceless side. Who knows? Subpoenas are being written for all 6. They're nearly done. They're being written by Cohen Riker, very capable. Those should be out within probably the next hour, followed by interrogations of Brandon Valentino, Frederick White, and Cuddles, followed by some of the others. Now,
so the stops, did you know why they were making those stops? Like who they were trying to talk to?
All right.
The
So
significance of the meeting.
You got to be ready to wear your conspiracy theory hat for this one.
Okay.
You prepared?
I'm prepared. I got my tinfoil hat on.
We always have ours on.
Okay.
The cup is lined with tinfoil.
I'm going to explain it in the manner in which it was explained to me by a series of individuals whom I cannot name, for their own protection. Some of which were assets for the faces, no longer, and some of which were close proximity, and one of which is kind of playing a fine line and has been providing information that would lead to his death if found out, right? According to these individuals, our city owes a pretty massive debt to investors outside of this island. Some of those branches and entities fall into companies like Nest, companies like like Wolf Real Estate. Mm-hmm. There's another one too. Name escapes me right now.
Epsilon was thrown in there somehow.
Epsilon, yeah, very possibly. Though I lean towards saying that Epsilon may be the lesser of the two.
Absolutely.
Nest's symbols kind of popping up on, like, say, the courthouse is very convenient, right? But also that comic book store, it was pointed out to me about 3 weeks ago. That comic book store used to be owned by these individuals known as a guild. I have a lot of history with them. Bjorn used to be a part of them.
You're talking the one on Vinewood, right?
The one on Vinewood, yep. That comic book store used to be where people used to trade cards and all kinds of things. Comic books too. And in the last month or two, there has been a placard of new signage around Fox Real Estate, et cetera, et cetera. That was not only pointed out to me, but I remember very vividly that those signs didn't exist before. So that's a very curious point. The vineyard, I don't know the relationship other than there was some sort of like party that was taking place there prior to that the VIP may have been attending, or maybe he went there to talk to someone that was already at a party. Can't say for certain. Some of these details are still kind of being collected. And it's also very strange that he's like what the purpose of his meeting is. There's a lot of these open questions. So, what was the original question? Sorry, there was something I was going to answer, but I just set the
purpose of the meeting.
The purpose of the meeting, Delta One does not know. The VIP will. So, however, my suspicion is it has something to do with that. And that is mostly due to them stopping at the comic book store. Bjorn's got a little bit more details on that, but he's not been approached just yet as we kind of gather information.
I do know that that this kind of falls back to even during the plague. Richard Dark had some conversations with members of the guild. I don't know the details of that conversation. It's probably somewhere in a state marshal report. But we are aware that the guild plague phase, like all of this weird high level shit, kind of wraps weirdly together.
Do you mind speaking up just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I said, I do know, this is during the plague. I think Richard Dark had some conversations with some members of the guild. It might have actually been Bjorn. I'm unsure. But we kind of have a general sense that, maybe the guild is sort of wrapped up weirdly with all of this high level shit that's happened, like even in connection with the plate, because even the faceless has some sort of connection to the plate.
Where do I see the marshals fit in this? By all means, the marshals should be overseeing something like this. That doesn't mean everyone's got to be there every day, right? But how I see it is kind of what I'm formulating right now is that, hey, we need to get these subpoenas out. We need to figure out what the fuck we think might be going on. We're never going to know the truth, right? No one's ever going to tell us. We might get close, but we need to theorize. And then create a mode of direction, right? In yesterday's events, there was a lot of capable people in the LSPD, Nikki Khan, for example, and a lot of capable people in the BCSO, like Cohen Riker and Bjorn. Individuals that stepped up, knew what to look at, knew what to document, and knew what to tell their superiors because they felt like it was relevant. And that as the marshals, they provide the platform to bring those folks together, work with them to achieve our goals, right? And a goal, if I was director, right, yesterday's events happened, it would be very similar to what took place yesterday. He's like, let's meet together, let's get these guys in interrogation, and let's start taking out their lower guys, right? How do you take out the faces? You fucking go after their workers, right? Mr. Brandon, why? Right? You put pressure on them. Whether that means sending them to jail or whether it means start to see what they're up to beyond just these little things and lock them up for a long time, right?
Right.
I think there has been, even zooming out, not just with the marshals, but with the independent departments, there has been a natural inclination to effectively gatekeep investigations. Now, I don't think any of that has been malicious. I've been through a series of different detective units, SCU back in the day, and then before that, CID. After that came the MCU, et cetera, et cetera. And there's been a common trend of information needs to be need to know on certain levels, right? But then at other levels, it's not that important for like sec ops. And I think just kind of due to the lack of, let's just say, expertise in that area and knowing what sec ops can look like, it's inadvertently made either independent detectives or the different, all three agencies keep too much close to their chest, and inadvertently nobody knows what the hell's going on, right? I think those walls need to be broken down. And rather when shit goes down, you have all three coming together and saying, let's go solve this. With the marshals being at the forefront of saying, this is our target, right? Here's what we need to do. Here's whose doors we're going to kick in. Let's bring the LSPD and the BCSO in on it, right? And kind of what I'm chiming here is cooperation.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, that's why, I approached you about the whole prison break scenario with Edgar, and and I think that day and even the day after proved that, hey, we can work together. And I know that there's a lot of there's a lot of things out there, a lot of high tensions, emotions, and people have certain opinions about certain departments, but at the end of the day, we all have the same goal. And I think one of the tactics that the Faceless is using and other people are trying to sow seeds of that,
I agree.
so that we continue to try to respond to these scenes and it just goes haywire because it's just a bunch of chiefs in the kitchen and or not chiefs in the kitchen, too many cooks in the kitchen, and it just gets chaos. So I'm all for that.
every case should be law enforcement's case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than a individual's, right? And I think that is easier said than done, but that is effectively the platform that I want to be putting forward, right? And I think when it comes down to why me versus the others, I'm a damn pit bull, right? I can negotiate with Pred. I can negotiate with, whoever ends up holding these positions. That includes the legislative authorities, right? We may not always agree, but you need a bull at the front. Otherwise, the louder voice is going to win, right? If the LSPD don't want the marshals there, they're gonna do what they can, but that would not happen with me at the helm. So
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on the table. A lot of there's not enough communication going around. There's not. I think the marshals have a lot of had a lot of setbacks and trying to get our footing. And of course, that's going to come with tension, and a lot of it also has to do with kind of the history of the marshals. Part of the concern I think we all have, or I'm not going to speak for these guys because they're kind of brand new, but I know when I came in, I constantly was combating the previous iterations image. The ones that came in and would come and interrupt scenes, swing their dick around, leave a bad taste in other officers' mouths. That sort of thing. So I hope that if we can get something together in form of patrol, then we're going to have to find a way to really drive home that we are not here to take command or swing our dick around.
So
that we do have that common goal in mind, and it'll be interesting to see. But
I think a key factor here comes from respect is earned, right? And sometimes that can be very tough to do in San Andreas, especially with diverse political ideologies or different. And what I mean by that is like we all have our own ideas of what priorities are, right? Danger, what life is valued and isn't, you know what I mean? And what I mean by that is like, for example, a meth car versus a hostage in a laundromat, you know what I mean? And for me, my end goal would be that when a marshal's on scene, everyone's like, oh shit, we're going to be in a good spot, right? Like, hey, there's a murder scene, but there's a marshal here. We're good. They're either going to know how to guide us, right, to success, or they're going to know who to speak to guide us to success. And that's where I want to get to, where it's not the role or the name or whatever's in legislation, but the personnel, you know? And I think that would become a very important part of what the director does, is to make sure that each and every marshal that's existing, and I have no intention of firing or whatever anybody, there ain't going to be no personnel removal, is to get them what they need to succeed on both an individual level and an organizational level, so that a month, 2 months from now, people do feel like, hey, there's a marshal here. Okay, we're in good hands, right? And that not from they're going to take the scene over, but like we can rely on them if we got questions. In regards to patrol, so as not to interfere with the current ongoings and to prevent tension early on with patrol, I'd want marshals to primarily focus on interstate state highways, right? Think about it very like trooper-esque. So what that would allow us to do is still focus on thinking investigatively or whatever we're cooking at the time. I'll be able to sit on the side of like, Los Santos Freeway or whatever, and we might spark something. And that, I don't think anyone's going to be bothered by that, because quite frankly, I don't think anyone does any highway patrol right now. So you know, in other words, like easing into it. Let me see. Is there anything else I got to touch on that kind of? Well, let me open up the floor. Do you guys have what? Ask away. Any questions you might have about my particular plans? Oh, IA. I don't want the marshals to be IA. I don't think it's conducive to anyone's health. Quite frankly, people will do corrupt shit. If they do corrupt shit, we should consider looking into it based on the severity of the crime. And our role would become a recommendation based, right? Unless it crosses a line where like there's like a cop that fucking murdered someone. There's sort of a diametric, the goals of the SCSM are kind of diametrically opposed to some of the goals of the departments. And what I mean by that, as I've witnessed myself in the past like year or so, I'm going to give an example. Ruth is a LSPD officer that went to BCSO. She investigated what she believed to be illegalities by a judge over the appointment of Kyle Pred. And she has been just dragged and berated through the street. Now she's strong, and I've supported her throughout the entire way. If she believes that she needs to approach it, she should. And I would give that same level of support to any marshal that needed to look into somebody. But I don't want the marshals to be looked at as IA, but rather more of a the unit that will recommend potential wrongdoings. I think leaning too heavily in that effectively dulls our sword, right?
Are you talking about IA in regards to like law enforcement agencies, or just all like as well as legislative authority?
I think for a while SCSM was looked at as IA. I want that picture to go away. You know what I mean? Like, if we see wrongdoing, we should be coming in with a recommendation, rather than being the ones trying to push a punitive measure when it is their individual high commands that should be put to that test. You know what I mean?
I mean, in regards to some of the IA stuff, at least as I've been a part of, I have leaned into more of that recommendation. Like for instance, just recent accounts, right? You know, the whole Alan Frost fiasco, right?
Right. Yep.
I reached out to, who did I reach out to initially? I reached out to Rhodes. This was like right before he got appointed deputy chief, and or whatever it is, assistant chief of police. I brought it to his attention. Hey, the marshals found that this guy had no DNA on file. He didn't have a weapon registry. He seemingly got hired and got promoted directly to full officer. Brought those things to him, and then he pushed me on to shift 1 command, as that was Frost's shift. And so I talked to Austin Bean, and then came back. Austin Bean said, yeah, I can't figure out anything. And then that's when I brought it to Angel. And Angel, I said, hey, this is what we found. Seems like there's no record of this, as like, honestly, this is kind of what we're looking at. This is the potential of something like this that happened, like not like punishment, but like, we don't want to see another officer that goes out there and then kind of goes rogue, and there's like no paperwork or anything on how he's onboarded, who talked to him or anything. So, very, very respectable conversation, very productive conversation. And, just for communication purposes and saying, hey, be aware of this in the future. And it was great. Case closed.
I think that's a good way to do it.
Another one, Jack Voss. He did some other. He was butting heads with EMS quite a bit, and you know, EMS kind of came to me saying, "Hey, this is a situation." He had his first aid cert taken away because of trying to shove some gauze down Tyler Peters' throat. And then he was later seen on another scene a few weeks later, administering first aid and then seemingly ignoring EMS and all that stuff. So I stepped in and said, "Hey, I think EMS, you need to sit down and have a meeting with Shift 1 High Command and work out those issues there." And that was my recommendation towards them, and they were able to do that. And they put forth investigation and suspended Voss until the investigation was done. And boom, case closed. That's it from our part.
It's very difficult.
That's how I like to handle. That's how I like to handle things, because again, I understand the high command and command exists for a reason, and you know, I don't think the marshal should be, you know, stepping in and making those decisions without giving communication to proper high command and chain of commands.
Yeah.
But you know, we could potentially step in if we see that there's nothing that has been done. Then we could potentially take action.
If the pattern continues and it can't be stopped, I think that's definitely, you know, it's very difficult in today's environment to exercise any kind of punishment or corrective measures. I have been behind a series of recent suspensions and firings, and each one is like pulling teeth. You immediately become the bad guy, right?
Right.
And you know, narratives very quickly get spun and people get targeted into being the enemy. You know, with Ruth recently, with recent ongoings with you know, the whole meth situation, which and I do think part of it too is, if I'm going to be honest with it, I don't know, it's usually not the person given the punitive action or the person who did the punitive. It's all the damn stirring that happens in between. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where someone says, "Hey, you did a bad," but the in between is so and so's trying to take your job, right? You need to go after them. You got to do this and that, and before you know it, it's turned into a whole pile of shit. And I think there almost needs to be political shielding around the marshals so they can start succeeding around patrolling investigations and not getting dragged into the dog shit that is holding PD accountable. I think very similar to the what I've been trying to do with BCSO today is we keep ourselves accountable, right? Let's make sure that the marshals have the highest level of integrity and whatnot, and that as long as we have that, we're going to be in a better place instead of sticking our hand in someone else's shit. You know what I mean? Because they'll drag you right in.
Right.
Quite frankly. Any questions for me? Feel free to ask anything, like even some of what I discussed, like specifics and whatnot. I'm
not
very
gonna
much
ask
an
a
open
question, but I will fill you in on a few things.
Yep.
First off, the current subpoena that is up for Brandon Valentino by Conan Riker needs to be extended in its date. I would recommend 2 weeks. I can't
agree.
say why. What I'm gonna say is, please just extend it.
Okay. 2 weeks. Oh, you want 2 weeks of records or 2 weeks delayed notification?
2 weeks of records.
Okay, we can do that.
Mr. Valentino had advance notice of this one.
Very good. Okay.
What I will say is, Mr. Mango, I have his phone number. I will be handing that over to Riker shortly.
Very good.
That incident was failed on a few fronts, unfortunately. I'm still missing possession photos and someone's DNA wasn't taken. But I get that during a confusing scene, it can be hard to do things in a way of which is efficient, and I had a lot of officers relay that to me, hence why, you know, Marshals didn't really step in and act like the bad guys for that one, because we also don't really like doing that sort of shit anymore. As you already mentioned, marshals have stepped in on way too many punitive measures. For example, one that comes to mind is the Mason-Dixie case. Don't know if you heard about that one, but marshals stepped in at a time in which they probably shouldn't. And that led to a lot of things happening that were less than tasteful amongst the PD and still carry forth with the marshal's reputation to this day.
You're talking about how there was this is the guy that was like stalking somebody, and then I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was stalking members of ADMC, and he wrote a whole like dossier of revenge and all that stuff.
Yep. I believe he traffic stopped them. They held him up at gunpoint, took him down to the sewers, performed surgery on him. A few of the members was then seen leaving the sewers. They were all arrested, but 2 people that actually performed surgery on him, leading to his death, were only charged with practicing medicine without a license, more or less. Or an authorized practice of medicine, or one of the two. I don't remember which. Now, the problem with this is...
Just so I don't forget, could you get in contact with Riker and help
I will, yes.
ensure he's got the PC for the 2 weeks?
I will, yes.
All right, easy.
Should be more than easy. The problem is that the PD saw this as essentially a bit of a marshals swinging their dick around competition and a lack of justice. Because frankly, 2 people who essentially helped murder a person should at least be charged with accomplice to murder or manslaughter at the very minimum, as well as unauthorized practice of medicine without license. But at the time, a deal was made to only get them charged with unauthorized practice of medicine without a license. Now, that is terrible PR for the marshals. And I'm aware of a few other instances like that where marshals would come in, say, oh, that's not your investigation anymore, or oh, that's not your HR meeting anymore, that's mine. And that leads to a bad taste in everyone's mouths.
No.
What I will say is there are a few instances recently that at least I've seen where the PD wasn't harsh enough with a particular thing. Now, that is up to the discretion of their command, high command. Do I personally disagree with it? Yes. But does that mean that I'm going to come in and, you know, say that person needs to be fired immediately? I'm exercising my powers as a marshal? No. God, no. I know that's what happened back in the day. A few people let me know that Weiss was putting forth legislation so that marshals could just fire anybody. That is not something that should be happening.
No.
For pretty obvious reasons. Because frankly, a rookie marshal should not exceed the power of a person in high command.
That's so crazy.
That is
Agreed.
far outreaching their mandate. That is ridiculous. Frankly, you're always going to have rookies that are going to be more experienced than some of the members in high command. You're always going to have rookies that are less experienced than a fucking cadet. That's just the way that the role goes.
I think there's another thing to look at is there is so much faceless have doing more shit than we're ever going to have time to look at.
Yeah.
If someone mischarges someone, it don't matter. It's still part of the pattern, right? The end goal is to stop them, and stopping them is when we do our preemptive strike, right? And that could be anything, right? It could be kicking in the right door, right? Those kind of things.
We'll send a fucking raid on one of their properties right now. I mean, they had a fucking heavy sniper on the last instance. Fucking absurd.
Very true. Yeah.
But I'm also stretched very thin. So I'd rather if I do give it to local county law enforcement who can take over that and handle it for me. I also can't do a lot of things, frankly, Mr. Knight. What is it that we can't do in relation to property door kickings? Please pull up the fucking list. Please pull up the fucking list. There's a whole fucking thing.
I might be familiar with the list.
Yeah,
but those are things. Those are things that are going to change very quickly. It would likely require internal certification, but not something that would not be that'd be very easy to lift, I think, right? And how we go about that, I'm not too concerned with, like whether it's like extending holds or, you know, certain toolings we may not have access to. Those, I think, things can be sorted very quickly, as long as they're justified, right? And I think for some of these things we can probably justify really easily. And this kind of embeds back into like the faceless. Whose case is that? Is it the marshals? Is it the 3 separate people that are independently working on it? Right? Be it McNulty, right? whom keep an eye on him. Be it, Opal, right? Be it, Richard Dark, for all I know. I see it more as it goes back to, it is the law enforcement agencies, right? Is trying to get people into a task force and working together, right? Whether it's like a conversation like the one we're having right now, or whatever it is, such that, because, tomorrow I might be dead. You might be, any one of us could be dead, right? We need to make sure that our work continues on.
Right now.
Sorry?
We could have the faceless rock up on us with an attack helicopter right now, and I would not be fucking surprised.
There you go. Yep. And that's where that cooperation comes in. It's like, one of us ain't here. There's enough of us being on the same page that we know how to react, right? And know that, hey, when that person's back out of ICU or whatever, it's like, hey, these things just took place. Side note, that phone call that I received earlier, the individual behind the newspaper, kind of keep this close. He has a video of the entire situation. So, all those suspects yesterday.
The vineyard one?
Yep. So, I was rather shocked. He sent me a photo. He tried calling me during the incident yesterday, and then he sent me a photo. I was like, holy fuck. The photo included Cuddles Fish and what's his face? The clown guy.
Sneaky.
And when I picked up the phone just now, I asked him, does he have a video? And he said, yeah, but it's going to take him a day or so. I told him once it's produced to leave it somewhere and ping my number. I'm afraid Frank is exceptionally good. However, he's playing with fire, right? Oh yeah, this guy. Oh yeah, I'm taking a look at some of the he's got a lot of good ones, including what appears to be sneaky loading up that VIP. So,
wait, he sent you the photos over text?
He did. Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Well, what are you going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. It's just Brandon Valentino has been contacted by the archivist.
Oh, yeah, the archivist. There's that too, isn't there?
Wait, hold on. You said in the possession of Marcus Blackwood was something in relation to signal jammers or something?
Correct. There was a hard drive.
That has to do with the archivist?
No, I don't think there's a relationship. Okay. Is it at some point both may coincide? Possibly, but based on the conversations I've had with either the archivist or whatever their spokesperson is, I'm currently, they seem like more of like a white hat agency. You know what I mean? They're, I forgot what the word's called. The notion that all information should be free and available, right? And I think that's counterintuitive to the Faceless and their mandate. That's not to say that Faceless Assets may not use the services, right? But I don't think there's any like direct collaboration.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what's going on with the archivists. They just kind of seem to exist and cause problems. Nothing to seem to be like lethal or detriment to lives, but definitely outsourcing private information is not in the public's best interest.
No,
especially with how sensitive people can be, and all that's ongoing with the Faceless and Darkstone seems like could cause a lot of problems if certain information gets out.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, like wars have been started over $20. I mean, someone's ERP techs go out from one gang from another. You might have a Romeo and Juliet situation that don't stop.
Oh, yeah.
No, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean,
but to kind of wrap everything up, like I said, I don't want to speak for these guys, but what I think moving forward that we need is, some of the things that you talked about. I would like to see more cooperation between the marshals and the other departments. Of course, I want to see growth I want to see this department grow. And of course, it's already growing, given time, and we just need general direction. We need competent people to take this job seriously. Um, and yeah, I think you touched down on a lot of that. But yeah, funding as well. Funding, figuring out a way to get us what we need. Be able to put parts in our cars, to be able to look at fixing some of the issues of the things we can't do already. And just general PR improvement. I know it's an interesting situation right now. A lot of political turmoil and whatnot, but I think whoever's in place, they've got the work cut out for them, and
so
I like what you've put down.
Yeah,
in
like
front of us today.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I said, I don't want to speak for these guys, so
yeah,
that's just for me.
Yeah.
I like the idea of collaboration and more integration with the other departments within law enforcement. I think something that could be useful to all of us, whether it be soon or in the future, is training. I wouldn't say that most of us need it given our experience, but it's always good to get a refresher. So
yeah,
even integration into academies from time to time, just to refresh police patrols and just general skills that are useful in the field.
I agree.
I think being disconnected as much as we are right now and more focused on investigations and conversation can sometimes, I wouldn't say lead to a detriment, but it can sometimes remove from our effectivity and also receptivity by others when we are essentially a part of a scene. And I want there to be more like cohesion when, as you said, if a marshal's on scene, it's like, oh, damn, like we're in good hands, or, they're going to be helpful where they need to be helpful.
Yeah.
And I think being more interwoven into the, I wouldn't say academy specifically, but just like patrol, as you mentioned, would help with that.
Right. Remove that like shock value or whatnot. I mean, I would even go as far as saying that internally within the Marshals, I think, even from what I've witnessed, I mean, y'all are exceptionally capable in your own ways. Like Bobby, you mentioned me, you like doing UC stuff, right? I there should be a day where someone calls you up from TRT and says, hey, we need to throw UC in. You available? You know what I mean? Like if I was thinking video games, I would think, how like when you go and like, you pick that specialist or whatever, right? That's kind of how I envision what the Marshals would be like visually, right? You got your specialists, but in the same vein, internal training where, hey, if we got to do a SEAL Team 6, we can do so, and we don't need the entire world, right?
Right.
And,
everybody's got their fortes and specialties, and people who go to them for assistance. But aside from the specialty, we're just good all-rounders, essentially what you're saying. Like, people got things they focus on, but overall, they're just entirely competent and could assist with anything.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I jive with that for sure. I'll be interested to see what the state decides, to say the least.
I do want to say that regardless of what ultimately the decision's made, quite frankly, I don't even know the process. Like, is it the state? Is it the this? Is it that? I fully intend if someone else gets that position, that my cooperation will continue, because I don't believe in investigations that are led by that are run by a singular individual, right? I find no interest in that. The fun is through the collaboration, not the standing up tall and say you did something yourself. Like, that don't that don't jive with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who are
Yeah,
you going to share your
absolutely.
memories with if it's just by yourself? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, if you even live long enough to finish that investigation,
yep,
'cause
that's it right there.
might damn near kill you.
All right. Okay. Well,
Yeah, I think in general, no matter who is appointed the director, I think going forward, what would be beneficial is, I won't even say as far as weekly meetings, but semi-frequent meetings amongst heads of departments to kind of be like, all right, so here's where we currently stand. Here's what we're working on. You know, you got anybody that can help with this, or, you know, we're covered here. Just more transparency. And I think that'd serve the benefit in time. Right now, I think the disconnect kind of just being like, hey, we're here is not boding too well, in my opinion.
no.
Then again, I haven't been around too long, so
Well, no,
that's
you,
more of
you
a-
hit the nail on the
some-
head. I mean, I'll tell you right now, the forces in the other departments, when there's something that happens like with the faceless, like even yesterday, right? I asked myself, why are they just waiting to go to the next ping? It's because they don't know what the hell's going on, right? They're not invested, right? And through that integration, by them having enough to make sense of these things, whether it's the archivist, whether it's faces, whatever the threat might be, you want the rest of the departments bought in. So they're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna make sure we do this right. I want to be a part of this, right? As opposed
I do have a question. I think, given the archivist, the faceless, darkstone, whatever, and the sensitivity of current information, I think there has been a strong mistrust in spreading information, even to people that are your peers, simply because one thing gets out, you end up murdered, right? So you have a lot of experience, and you're a charismatic individual. So I'm gonna ask you a question here: how would you go about delivering said sensitive information to a group of individuals that you can't 100% say are in your corner, right? You never know if there's operatives for the faceless or whatever, relaying information within the PD. That's a bigger fish to fry if that's the case. But if that were the case, you know, how would you word it? You know, how would you be like, here's what we got?
I think the first thing is understanding what information is actually needs to be classified. The cases that we deal with today are way simpler than they used to be. That's a benefit for us. So if it's a CI name, you know, it should be kept lock and key, right? There needs to be enough trust and SOPs on how to deal with the CI because their life is in your hands, right? And are they a willing participant? That you wouldn't want to give out. Key locations that are unknown and maybe like an objective target should be kept out. But general information is virtually irrelevant being out there. Take the archivist, for example. Everyone and their mother knows what it is. If they want that info, they can get it because archivists have been very public, right? Even the faceless, very public. So I think treating some of those things sensitively isn't really the end of the world. Even targets like, let's say, Brandon Valentino, Mr. White, etc. PD already knows because they were on the scene. If they wanted that info and they cared about it, they'd bring it up anyways. I would say when discussing these matters, speaking out about it in generalities, I think is just a good formula to use without specifying names unless those names are part of the operation that you're putting forward, right? Like, so for example, let's say next week there's some known face assault. You might mention some of the suspects to look at, and worst case scenario, some bozo decides to go up to him and be like, hey, I heard you're a face assault. I mean, you don't lose anything because the guy already knows he's a face assault and he already knows that we know, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, makes sense.
yeah.
Would that be the type of information that I guess, like, how would you deliver that to people? Like, for example, you know, you probably wouldn't take each individual to the side and be like, hey, like, this is ongoing. you probably rally the troops and deliver it. Would that be the type of thing?
That would be the way to do it, 100%.
Would you do that kind of just like case by case? Who's on duty at a particular time? You rally them, or is it like meeting? Like
I think
the meeting after the storm.
If it was a operation, you would want that during the operation. However, leading up to that, let's say general maintenance or whatever, if it's a faceless op meeting, then it should be marshals and participants from departments that are integrated onto the case, right? So, and what does integrated on the case mean? They need to be producing, right? That they are always taking point if a scene is opening up, that they're going to be involved, or they're actively helping with subpoenas and stuff. So if they're not producing, they're not actually involved, right? Names on a list don't mean anything. Like, let's take Riker, for example. That boy's been cooking since last night. I would consider him a part of the Faces case. Opal's been very much involved with a lot of things. I could see her as someone who's on the case. That's how I'd chop it up, You bring in relevant parties that have been producing, and then kind of leave it at there. You know what I mean? But
would that be so our reports are currently sensitive and classified, restricted, whatever. So would a suggestion be, if those people are integrated into those cases, and this could be, your approach if you were director, would you add those people to said reports and basically have like, hey, you're integrated, so you have free reign, or, oh no, the marshals are still in charge?
I think that's a very, I'd have to cook on that one. And that's primarily due to the limitations of our MDT. I can tell you that when we kicked off DTF, which was the detective task force, I brought in Ruby on the LSPD side, and then I ran the BCSO side with the objective to be maintaining a list of like an executive summary and who's on cases. Now, what we did there is we had these investigative reports, and the idea was that something might start as an investigative report. Let's say someone comes and gives you some detailed information pertaining to a high value case. It would start there, but then you would sort of declassify it based on a review, right? Like, hey, is this something that contains sensitive information that could get someone killed or cannot leak? And those reports should be available to anyone actively working those cases. So I think the real answer is figuring out how to set up the MDT in such a means that there's information available to us, information available to, the various task forces, right, for different cases, and then the generalized PD. So, and if that's too much, maybe the only thing that's kept lock and key are the most sensitive things, like safe houses, right? Houses that we believe might be facilitating terroristic threats. It's
I agree with that. I also think that one of the I'd call it an issue because it's almost a disadvantage in some ways, is that we'll have a very sensitive report on a particular topic, a topic that would likely eventually involve you and your counterparts, other departments, emergency medical services, for example, Faceless, Darkstone, whatever it be. We have a sensitive report and has a lot of information, a lot of backstory as to what's going on. And then you have an individual, right? Could be a cadet, could be an officer, deputy, whatever, and they respond to a call on that particular, group, whatever. And they're there and they're misinformed, but after the fact, they get curious. They're like, you know what? I'm trying to put some puzzle pieces together. I'm invested into this shit now. Where do they go? And I think they don't really have a place to go to aside from asking people questions. So I think kind of a backlog or a place to refer to, even if that means creating individual ones for different departments, would be beneficial. I wouldn't even say that's a thing for a detective in particular. I think that could just be something somebody creates and people add as they see fit.
I agree.
Again, I don't know if that's
I agree. I generally believe that with the atmosphere and the personnel we have in our departments, is that every case should be open door policy. You want in, you let the leads know, and you bring the individual in and you say produce. And that's a rather not, it's a simple way of doing things. And, it's not only a simple way of doing things. It's just, like I said, I don't think things are as sensitive as they needed to be back in the day. And I'll give you an example. Back in the day, there was a guy named the Puppet Master. 2.5 years, 3 years, I worked that case. There's another guy, Michael Simone, worked that case for about 2 years. And the reality of the matter was that we were dealing with individuals that were very careful about the layers of clean people they had, the way that they did their transactions, et cetera, et cetera. That shit don't exist no more. You know what I mean? Like, so names getting out there almost has virtually very little damage that can be done. You know, so in a way we're a little lucky, I guess. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, yeah,
I just think getting people stewing and thinking about things is beneficial to the effectivity of everybody on a particular scene, especially
100%.
Darkstone and Faceless related.
They may know or see something that they think everyone else knows, and it might be the thing that solves the case, right?
Exactly.
You know, and I've found that more detectives don't realize that they want to be detectives till they start to bite their teeth in. You know what I mean? So, you know, what about you, Dakota? Any questions for you?
Not really. I'm just trying to catch up on the years I've missed.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. Well, I know I kept y'all for here for a good while. It was a great conversation. I got Academy to do in about 20 minutes, so I got to go, you know, get some caffeine in me and get prepared. My line is always open. Like I said, regardless of, you know, what the future holds, whether or not I get the position, I do have full intent to continue to work with you guys. And it's been a pleasure for the cases we have been working so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
same here. I don't plan on stopping trying to, you know, work closely together with you guys. So
hell yeah.
We could go ahead and walk back. I know you got 20 minutes to drink that coffee and get your energy in.
Yep, that's right.
How many do you got lined up for this academy?
8.
8? Okay, that's not bad.
Watch out for the murder kick.
Or is it? Who's it going for? Yep.
No, I wanted to shoot the revolver.
Well,
you gotta be quicker than that.
I would contact Riker. He's about ready. Probably
yeah.
needs that extra bit of info. We've been developing a new subpoena and analysis tool in the in our little detective unit. I will see if we can grant y'all access to it. Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
I've been trying to pick that up in RS yet.
You know the worst thing about that shit? Did you know, like, some of it doesn't degrade too well?
Oh yeah.
It's what was I saying? Yeah, we got a subpoena tool. You can effectively upload financial records, et cetera, and then collaboratively make notes on it.
Oh, nice.
We're slowly, because we got that tool from before. I don't remember what it's called, but it was like lacking a couple features. So, effectively, it allows you to generate an investigation, sip in a bunch of subpoenas, and then cross-reference them.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
By the way,
we have something similar.
Ooh, okay. Holy shit.
You know how you were sent a text from the archivist where they sent you a picture of the prison?
Yes.
They sent Edgar the same thing, and they've actively tried to make contact with him since.
With who now?
Edgar.
Edgar, really? Okay.
Yeah, except they sent him a different photo with a different logo, but I digress.
The Edgar thing is very strange because the civil war amongst the Babylonians was kind of short-lived. And McGregor continues to be found working with him on what was an escape. And McGregor's name also shows up among the faceless. So I don't know if it's a friendship thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely believe the faceless is trying to pull him back in, if I'm gonna be honest.
No, no track.
Yeah.
Although up until yesterday, the faceless has been kind of lacking recently, I suppose. Really been doing all that much.
I was a
Wait.
little quiet, but
McAllister, didn't you park on the other side?
Yeah, I did. I was just gonna get someone to drive me up later.
Oh,
It's a Buffalo that is not working as intended. I don't really care about it right now.
What do you mean not working as intended?
I think our mechanic decided to fuck around.
Oh, did you? Oh, you drove the one I told Peters
Yep.
not to drive.
Yep.
yeah,
Hey,
that's why I
look, I
drove
wanted
the
to test out my hot wiring skills. Got it first shot. What can I say?
Oh shit! I failed that thing 5 different times and I just gave up.
You're really fucking good at hot work. Wait, is that
All right.
the same Buffalo? Oh, I see now.
Yeah, no, it's the same
Oh,
exact
yeah,
Buffalo.
yeah, let's leave that Buffalo alone.
all right.
Yeah, we got the same plates and shit.
Okay.
dude.
All right.
But-
Well, Brian, thanks for your time and
Thank you for your time. I appreciate
Hey,
it.
thank you, homie. I appreciate the
Nice seeing
call.
you again, Brian.
Likewise. All right.
You ain't gonna dap me up before you leave, dog? Oh my god.
Yeah, you can do
I
that.
thought we were home.
Every fucking time.
Type shit, dude. Type shit. I respect the combo and I like your vision. Tony.
Actually, I got something for you.
Oh, really?
I have caught so many bags of methamphetamines from the besties,
my
all
word.
tied to a series of strains. And I jokingly called him after what I believe to be a meth run that they just got done doing. And I tried to
Oh, my
convince
word.
him that I'm the meth boss and I got a mission for him. You know what I mean?
Oh shit! So you want me to be the meth? I could be Walter White.
You know, maybe we'll cook something for next week. I think,
Oh shit! I mean,
don't
if you
know-
find an RV and you want to cook some shit, just give me a call.
well, you know, I don't know if they'll take the bait, but it might be worth giving it a shot, see what happens.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, boss. You put me in that shit, don't take the fucking bait. I sound like a stoner from day one. So.
That's what I'm fucking talking about. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Y'all stay
well, you
safe.
Stay safe. All right.
Oh,
Hey, Sheriff, how you doing?
I'm good. Are you?
Pretty good. I was in the middle of a meeting with the Marshals just now.
Yeah, I saw
You know.
there was like 5 of them surrounding you.
Yeah. Well, I had to
Yeah,
talk.
I saw that.
You fucking crying